Welcome to another episode of the Do Good Work podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about leadership, strategic leadership at 5,700 feet above the ground. Now, 5,700 feet is not a lot, but let me tell you a little bit of a story about myself, what I learned when we were hiking in Zion National Park, Angels Landing. So, moral of the story, and the simple, this podcast could have been 30 seconds long. Strategic leadership begins with self-awareness. But let me tell you a little bit more about self-awareness and how to apply it tactically in the real world, as well as how you can apply this tactically in your business, your leadership style, what you're doing with your team right now. So we were in Zion National Park late February, and we decided to go hike Angels Landing. So it was a crew of us, around 6, and my fiance was part of that. So friends, we just went out, hiked Angels Landing, and the hike, you elevate 1,600 feet. So you start at 7 o'clock in the morning, and then an hour and a half, you reach the peak. And at the peak, though, that's where the real hike begins, because that's where the whole fanatic of the actual Angels Landing experience is. I didn't know what it was, but once you're at the peak, you're at 5,700 feet, 50, 56, around that. But once you get to the top, there's a section where you can actually hold on to chains and go to a cliffside and have an experience and see the beauty of Zion National from the hike that everyone's done. Granted, it is a little dangerous, right? That's why they have chains to hold on to. So our crew decided to go and try. Not everyone was willing to go try, but I was part of hey, let me see if I can do this. My fiance, though, when they say better half, this is better half coming in at 5'2". She's definitely a little fearless. It's kind of scary. But we were going out there, right? And I'm afraid of heights, okay? So I'm afraid of heights. We're going up there. We're holding onto the chains. And it's not too bad, right? You're doing some rock climbing, the facade of the rock or the wall, whatever you want to call it. And then we go there. But then I did the 3 things you're not supposed to do when you're climbing, I guess. You're not supposed to stand up. You're not supposed to look down. And you're not supposed to freak out. But I did those 3 things exactly at that same time. So we were up a little peak of a wall we had to get across. I'm holding onto the chain. My hands are, of course, shaking and cold and sweating because, naturally, I'm afraid of heights, right? So, but then I stand up, I look down, whoa, you don't know how high 5,700 feet is until you're looking down. It's just you in 5,700 feet. And then the thing that freaked me out the most was the wind, because it was nothing behind me, nothing in front of me. It was just me standing and then the wind blowing. And that's when I knew this was not for me, right? So it was crazy. So, I can tell you this whole fancy title or what I did or whatever. I wimped out. I'll own it. Yeah, I didn't want to do it, right? But so half of our crew wanted to keep going while the other half was you know what, this isn't for us. But I will be honest with you, I did have some very, I guess what you would say, strategic thinking in regards to why I decided not to go on and why I didn't feel that I was prepared at that moment. To contrast, typically on my Saturdays, I wake up early and I do endurance workouts, and I needed to build up over time to be able to endure the type of workouts that I do now, right? So I needed to start with 1 hour or 30 minutes, 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, 2, 3, 4, etc., right? So I could be able to take on harder workouts or more disciplined workouts, but I couldn't go from 0 to 100 just in 1 week. Same thing here with Angels Landing. I knew that if I wanted to take this whole trail across, I thought it was a 20-minute loop. Apparently it was 2 hours for them, just so you know. But if I wanted to take this whole trail across, after going the whole experience, I wasn't mentally prepared for that. Right? And then what are my costs? If I'm doing the endurance workouts, my costs are literally blacking out and safely falling on the ground or failing at a push-up, at the 300th push-up, and then falling to the ground. Yeah, my face might get hurt, but who cares, right? I'm falling safely on the ground. Here, my mental stability wasn't okay, and my physical body wasn't reacting appropriately. So any false move, I could slip, fall, and, the chances are not very high of falling, but you still can fall, right? It says literally proceed at your own risk. They have signs all the way up there. So the moral of the story is I knew that I wasn't ready at that moment to proceed because, I just didn't think it was worth it. I wasn't mentally ready because I never trained for that. I never trained to being face to face with legit fear of falling, and also with the stamina that it takes to face that fear over time, plus the physical strength, right? And some kids do it. So I'm not trying to say this is the most hardest thing in the world. For me, obviously, it was a little difficult, but you see kids doing it like 18-year-olds or like, I think even 14-year-olds rather. But anyways, that's another story for you. But the other half of our crew, I learned an interesting lesson from them as well, because they were still scared while they did it. They completed it. Let's just, so they completed the 2 hours, but they were still scared. So what the interesting thing, when they told us the story of how it went, they were telling us that, we were still scared, but before we turned around, we talked, they met with, as a little group, with a group of 3, they met together and like, let's make it to that rock, right? So they scrambled, they went, they held on to the chain, and they made it to that rock, and they're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Let's make it to the other rock. They scrambled, hold on to the chain, making sure that they're okay, and they're like, okay, that wasn't too bad. And let's try it to that one, and then to that one, and they kept going, and that's how they progressed. They were still afraid, but they also like, let's try a little bit more. Let's try 10% more, 10% more, 10% more. And I thought that was even intelligent as well, strategically, when you're facing obstacles or you're facing a new challenge, to just try it. Don't go like the whole 110% day one. Maybe just go 10%, 10%, and keep going and keep attacking it, because they succeeded, right? And they came back saying, hey, it was scary. There were some parts where there was no chain. You're like, whoa, a little scary, but they still made it. And they did it successfully. Right, so they were able to conquer a fear that clearly myself and like the other half wasn't able to overcome at that time. And this is another key lesson too: is it's not failure. It's not failure because you weren't ready. Because I now have the self-awareness of what I need to train if I want to face that challenge again and meet it successfully. So self-awareness doesn't mean that, I'm just going to mentally think that I can do this and it's going to be excellent because I'm just thinking and it's going to happen. Well, sometimes you're going to be faced with real obstacles, realistic obstacles that are physical and as well as mental. And it's up to you to really have the strategic mindset of saying, am I capable of doing this? And it's not accepting defeat if you say, at this moment, we are not capable. Same thing with your team. Let's say your team is a team of 5, 10, team of 15, whatever it is, right? A small team, but you have to take on work that requires a team of 25. And you have to really analyze, what are the opportunity costs? Is this healthy for my team? Is this the right time for my team? Is this okay for me to say no? Not accepting defeat, but seeing the areas that I need to work on in order to meet this challenge or future challenges at the same or higher level of exertion, of extent of the challenge that arises. So those are my lessons at 5,700 feet up in the air. If you ever go to Angel's Landing and you did that, please comment below. Let me know. I'd love to see your photos, and we'll see you next time. Hey, thank you so much for checking out this episode of the Do Good Work podcast. If this episode resonated with you or know someone it might help, hit that subscribe and share button. If you want a clear step-by-step action plan to apply some of these principles we just talked about and the fundamental principles to grow your company and scale your impact, head over to my website, dogoodwork.io, and get my book, Productive Profits. In the book, we'll go over in detail the result-driven actions that will ensure that you grow your company safely and also reach the goals and mission you're called to achieve. Now, if you want to work directly with me to help you apply these principles in your business, head over to my page, dogoodwork.io/work with Raul. And there you'll see how it is to work with me. You'll see some kind words from other business owners, real businesses who have seen and felt the direct impact I help them create. And on that page, you'll be able to connect with me via email. We'll hop on a call. And even if we work together or not, you will leave with a customized action map for your own company. Yes, I'm that serious about providing value to anyone who comes my way. It's an honor to be part of your journey. This is Raul Hernandez. Do good work.